Living Enlightenment. Mystery of mysteries. There is a beautiful story in the great Indian epic, Mahabharata. The prince, Yudhishthira, was asked by a yaksha, "What is the most mysterious thing on planet Earth?" Yudhishthira replied, "Every day, so many lives are going to the abode of Yama, the Lord of Death. Yet the people who stay here think they are going to live forever. We always think that it is someone else who will die, not us. Death is truly the mystery of all mysteries. There are only two things that are certain about death. One is that we will die at some point in time. The other is that it is uncertain when or how we will die. Everything that is born has to die. That is the nature of life." A beautiful story from the life of enlightened Master Buddha. Once a woman came with her dead son to Buddha. She was mad with grief at the death of her only son. She cried to Buddha, "Master, please give me some medicine that will get my boy back to life." Buddha replied, "Give me a handful of mustard seeds." The woman caught up immediately and rushed to get a handful of mustard seed. Then Buddha added, "The mustard seed must be from a house where no one has lost a dear one, child, husband, parent, friend." The woman went from house to house. Out of pity for the desperately crying woman, people gave her mustard seed from their house. But when she asked whether they had lost a dear one, they had someone or the other who had died in the house. She went from house to house till sunset, but found no house where a death had not happened. Slowly, the truth started dawning on her. Death is inevitable. She buried her son's body and returned to Buddha. She fell at the feet of Buddha and asked him, "Master, please teach me the truth. What is death? What exists beyond death?" She became Buddha's disciple and followed Buddha for the rest of her life. There is a beautiful saying, tomorrow or the next life, which comes first? We never know. Buddha says, this existence is as fleeting as the autumn clouds. To watch the birth and death of beings is like watching the movements of a dance. Religions that talk of only one life create a hurry and anxiety to take the maximum juice out of this life because you feel you cannot miss anything. The idea of only one birth gave rise to science looking for maximum enjoyment. All Eastern religions talk about many births. You come down again and again. You play the same drama of life. It is just the same setup, same relationships, but at different times. You feel bored and fed up and wonder, how many times do I have to play the same drama? You wish to get liberated, and no more do you want to come back. You work towards moksha, liberation. Your understanding about death changes your outlook of life. The topic of rebirth is now popular because it cannot be proven by science. Of course, now near-death experience has become a hot subject as many doctors and psychologists have recorded their experiences. There are many people who have recorded thousands of NDEs, almost all which fall into a similar pattern. They all relive the events of their lives. Hypnotists have regressed people into their past lives. These two fall into a pattern. They are similar to what the rishis said over 5,000 years ago about what happens when you die, which is recorded in the Kathopanishad. Death in my presence before enlightenment. This incident is from the days of my spiritual journey before enlightenment. I was near a small village in North India, a place near Varanasi, the spiritual headquarters of Hindus. Hindus traditionally visit Varanasi at least once in their lifetime. The city has a floating population of at least 200,000 people every day. I was there with an old monk who had been hospitalized, and I was in the intensive care unit ICU. According to the Vedic tradition, young monks take care of the elderly monks and sannyasis. As a young monk staying in that village, I started taking care of the elderly monk. One day, when I was attending to him, suddenly it became obvious that the man in the bed next to his was about to die. He started struggling for life. I was able to see very clearly what was happening inside him. By that time, I had my deep spiritual experience, or satori, but I had not become fully enlightened. The realization of the purpose of my life had not happened. I was still seeking, and my body was getting prepared for the explosion of energy that was to happen after enlightenment. Several doctors were trying to give the monk critical medical care and support. The man was gasping for breath. I could see very clearly how death was happening in him. I could see very clearly how the life source was moving away from the body. That was the strangest experience that had happened in my life outside my body. Inside my body, the strongest experience that happened was realizing the mission. I was able to see what was happening, but I was not able to bear it. An important thing you should know is if you see somebody in physical pain, it would affect you only about 30 to 40%. But if you see somebody in depression and you can relate to the person and feel the depression, it would affect you more, say around 60%. Further, if it is emotional pain and if you're able to connect and understand the pain, it would affect you much more, about 80%. The more subtle the pain, the more you will be affected. I saw not only the physical, mental, or emotional pains of the dying man, but I also saw the being level pain. It was almost like I was going through the pain myself. I wanted to just run away from there, but the elderly monk got afraid and just held my hand, begging me to stay. I had been taking care of him for 2 to 3 months, so he had gotten really attached to me. Since a young age, I have loved serving monks. I used to take food and clothes from my house and give it away to the monks. Serving monks has always been my passion. I have always felt that this whole Vedic tradition is alive even today only because of such monks. They have kept this science alive. For doing research in any science, you need great support in many areas. For example, in the West, a lot of research happens in the outer world science because there are people and organizations to support it. If it is research on medicines, a pharmaceutical company may support the research. If it is some research related to space and astronomy, the government may sponsor and support it. In the same way, in India, the whole country supports and sponsors spiritual science research. The whole country has taken up the responsibility to support an inner world scientist by providing him food, shelter, and clothes so that he can continue his research in the inner world without spending time for basic outer world requirements. So I've always felt that it is my responsibility to take care of the monks and inner world scientists. The elderly monks who I was taking care of in the ICU did not want me to leave because he was afraid seeing the man next to him dying. The man was going through such a hard time. It was like the whole 6 feet of his body was being torn apart. Imagine the pain if you have a small cut in your finger. Now, imagine how painful it would be if the skin on your whole body is literally being peeled. It is something like 1,000 scorpions stinging at the same time. I could clearly see the pain the man was going through. On one side, the individual soul associated with all the unfulfilled emotions like desire, greed, guilt was undergoing terrible suffering. The individual soul wanted to stay in the body and fulfill these, but the body was tired and wanted to relax. It was a fight between the body and the individual soul. It was as if the body wanted to leave, but the individual soul was trying to hold on to it. If the right hand was gone, the soul was trying to hold on to the left. If the right leg was dead and gone, the individual soul was trying to hold on to the left leg. Whichever part of the body it could hold on to, the individual soul was trying to hold on to it. Part by part, the body was dying. I saw that with the lower body, there was not much struggle. But when it came to the upper body, the whole body was vibrating and pulsating with pain. Slowly, the individual soul started moving out of the physical body. Understand, when the breathing stops, that is the moment when the individual soul actually leaves the physical body. There are 7 layers or bodies in you. The body of flesh, bones and blood that you see is the physical body. The energy moving in you as prana of life energy is the pranic body. There are 5 kinds of prana or air movements that happen in the body. Air that enter into the body, air that circulates inside the body, air that spreads all over the body as life force, air that comes out of the body, and air that cleanses. These from the second body or the pranic body. The third body is the body where the inner chatter continuously happens. Inner chatter is nothing but a continuous stream of words or thoughts that move within you. The fourth body is made up of emotions like fear, anger, grief, which spread like feelings all over the body without even words coming into play. An emotion by itself can simply shake you. This is the emotional layer. The fifth layer is the body that you experience in deep sleep. This is where all the engraved memories or engrams are stored in the seed or causal level. The engrams are not active, but they are not dead either. It is like a deep coma where you are neither living what you want nor are you dead. You are just stuck in this layer. From this causal body, this individual soul moves to the cosmic body. The sixth layer is the cosmic body where you experience bliss. This is what continuously inspires you to be a seeker. If you're a seeker, understand that this layer is strong in you. If you enrich this layer, your life will be blissful. If you have any engram remaining in this layer, you will assume another body and come back. If you continuously enjoy pleasurable experiences, then you are said to be in heaven. If you're stuck in pain, then you're said to be in hell. Depending on how much pain you experience in life, you will stay that long in the pain body or hell at the time of death. Depending on how much pleasure you experience in life, you will stay that long in the cosmic body or heaven. Hell and heaven are purely psychological. This is the truth. Based on what engrams you have, you experience heaven and hell. That is why different cultures visualize heaven in their own way, because heaven is not a place, it is an experience. The seventh layer is the nirvanic layer, which corresponds to enlightenment. At the time of death, there is a powerful fight between the owner or the individual soul and the object or the body. The object says, I am tired, I can't function anymore. The owner says, no, I want to use you. When the object wins, the physical body dies and the individual souls move to the next layer, the pranic body. This is the layer you're in when you normally dream. When dreaming, your logic loses its power over you, but your desires remain active. The very definition of dream is the state where logic has no power, but desires and engrams remain active. Even when you are unconscious or in coma, your logic will not be active. As long as you are in the physical body, you will have desires with the logic to analyze whether the desires are needed or not and which one of the desires should be fulfilled, etc. Desires are under your control. There is a balancing mechanism. But when the desires exist without supporting logic, the individual soul will be kicked around like a football by the desires. On one side, there will be guilt. On the other side, desires that play on the individual soul. When I saw the man dying, I could see that the individual soul was slowly moving out, layer by layer. I could see the soul suffering intensely. When it went through the unfulfilled desires, the soul was literally being eaten by guilt when it realized, I did not fulfill the purpose and mission of my life. understand, you will remember the purpose of your birth only during death. When you are born, your body travels through the your body travels through the birth canal of the mother, and because of the intense pain that you go through, you go into coma or the deepest unconscious state, and you forget the whole purpose of taking birth. It is like this: you booked a flight ticket and sat inside the aircraft also, but during the flight you were put in coma, and so when you landed, you forgot all about why you came to that particular place. Only when you leave the place and board the flight again, you suddenly remember why you had come to that place. In the same way, when you die, you feel the strong guilt of not fulfilling the purpose of your birth, or what we call the parabha. After passing through this guilt, next, all the pain experiences of your life will come up. So at the time of death, you first pass through the physical pain, then through all the desires, next through all guilt, then through all emotional pain, and finally through all the pleasures that you experienced in this birth. Normally, as soon as you reach the cosmic body or the sixth layer itself, you return to assume the next body, the next birth. The individual soul returns to assume the next body. Sometimes, rarely, you go beyond the sixth layer into the nirmadic body, when you don't come back to assume another body. When you travel through these various bodies and experience your unfulfilled desires, deep guilt, and intense pain, you decide strongly, let me take another body, another birth. When I do, I will not forget the purpose of my life and get caught in these elusive games. I will straight away follow the path of truth. But when you actually take birth the next time again, because of the intense pain during birth, you drop into coma and forget all about your decision. Finally, the man died. But the experience left a strong scar in me. It left a very strong impression in my mind. The fortunate thing was that the elderly monk became all right and he was discharged from the hospital. I continued my journey, and after a few months, I had my own death experience and I became enlightened, thus realizing the mission and purpose of my life. My life as a liberated being started at the age of 12 itself, when I had my deep spiritual experience. But the clarity about the mission and what was exactly going to happen through my body dawned when I became enlightened.